In today's conversation, I would like to discuss with you why you do not need another money-making idea. You already have it. You do not need another money-making idea to generate $1 million, $2 million, whatever you'd like. You do not need one. Why I say that is, again, based on personal experience, which all these videos on my channel are based on personal experience. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2009. I built 3 successful businesses, one in IT, one in business consulting, and I also built a YouTube channel, not this one here, although I built this one as well, another one to over 400,000 subscribers plus organically. And I have generated many millions of dollars over the years, and you could do the same as well. What I have learned in the earlier stages is that I always had the idea. I always had it. It's just in the earlier stages, I would get caught up in shiny object syndrome, or I would procrastinate. And then I realized what was going on. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Also, I have over the years spoken with thousands of entrepreneurs, thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. I've taught these speed reading workshops for iris reading, and I've met entrepreneurs teaching these workshops. I have done business consulting, one-on-one, in groups, large groups, presentations, etc. When I'm out and about, I'll meet entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs. I've attended many masterminds, meetups, events where there are entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. And absolutely, every single entrepreneur that I have met or aspiring entrepreneur has at least one viable idea in them. At least one, if not many. At least one, if not many viable ideas. Actually, many. I can honestly say we just have not explored enough in conversation to discover that they already have many viable ideas. Now, why is it that the entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur having at least one or many viable ideas gets involved with fear of missing out or shiny object syndrome, where they browse the internet looking for more ideas? And no shame, no condemnation. I did this in the earlier stages as well. Why is it? Well, perhaps consider this model here. It's called the Kelly and Connor's emotional cycle of change. Kelly and Connor's emotional cycle of change. Now, I discussed this actually in vivid detail in my other video, which I posted on Sunday on my other YouTube channel. If you're interested in that, I'll link in the description to that video. We discuss it there, so I won't get too deep into this. I recommend looking it up. It's called the Kelly and Connor's emotional cycle of change. So what we've seen happen many times, and I've been a business consultant for many years now, and I've seen this. And I've seen this in myself as well. So no shame, no condemnation. A pattern. An entrepreneur knows they have a viable idea, and they experience what is called uninformed optimism. They may get very excited about this idea initially, and they take a couple steps, whatever it may be. They may start building the website, or they do a little research to see what's involved with seeing that idea into fruition. And why it's called uninformed optimism is because they do not know consciously yet what is involved with seeing that particular idea into fruition. They're not aware of the innovation aspects, the marketing aspects, the sales aspects, the operations aspects, the finance aspects, and the leadership aspects related to this particular idea. And when they come across what is involved, whatever it may be, how to package their product, building the website, acquiring clients, etc., whatever it may be, they experience perhaps what is called informed pessimism. Informed pessimism. So that initial excitement may dwindle a bit, or maybe considerably, depending on the individual. So this informed pessimism is generated by looking at perhaps what is required in the innovation, the sales, the marketing, the operations, the finance, the leadership, or part of them, and then perhaps thinking that they need to do it all by themselves. Or they might think, this is really hard. I can't do it. The reality is they don't need to do all these things. What I teach is just do what you love to do and then optimize, automate, delegate, and or eliminate everything else so that you can do what you love to do. And these areas do not get neglected. Now, let's say they do that. They will then they'll skip this stage here, which is called Valley of Despair, which we'll talk about in a moment. They'll skip this stage here. And maybe if they're seasoned entrepreneurs, it's not informed pessimism. Let's say the next business initiative, which I can say this has been my experience when I get involved with whatever I'm involved with now, investing, etc. I go from uninformed optimism to informed optimism. But maybe the entrepreneur or the aspiring entrepreneur goes into informed pessimism. Let's say they release that conditioning. They no longer identify with that conditioning. What happens is they go into informed optimism. They say, okay, these are the things involved. I can optimize these areas so I could do them in a way where I enjoy doing it. I can delegate them. I can automate them. I can eliminate them. Maybe they're not required to some degree when done in a particular way. Now, I'm being general here without getting overly specific. If you're interested in bringing me into your business to consult with you, if you would like to inquire about my consulting, I'll link in the description to a form. My consulting is not just built on the foundation of building my IT business to success from 2009 to 13. It's also built on the foundation of building my YouTube channel to success, which is a full-fledged business. Also being a business consultant since 2013, and then 10 years of corporate experience prior to that. So we can get into granularities. We can get into abstract and granular, specifically related to your business. If you're interested in consulting, bringing me in, I'll link in the description to it. Now, they go into informed optimism, and then inevitably they create that success or that fulfillment. And what happens is, whatever, the money goal, the $1 million, $2 million. Now, let's say they struggle with, and no shame, no condemnation. They do not know that they can optimize, automate, delegate, eliminate. That's just some of the things. Or they do not know how to see things clearly. I'm going to give an example of marketing. Let's say they say, I don't know how to market. They might not be aware of what is called positioning and angles. We'll talk about that in a moment. And they may get really discouraged and go into what is called the Valley of Despair. And at this point, they could either bring someone on to help them, mastermind, or something like that, gain some clarity, and get into stage 4, which is informed optimism, as in they address those areas and move into success, or they can get distracted by another piece of content, or they may go searching on the internet for another piece of content that presents another business opportunity or another money-making idea. And then what could happen is they can repeat this cycle again and again and again, and they don't see their business into fruition. They don't see it. And maybe this goes on for a while, like it did with me in the earlier stages. And then you realize that it's a pattern. And then you stop the pattern. You stop the pattern, and what happens is you build your successful business. You generate your $1 million, whatever it is that you'd like. So if you would like to get into the nuances of this, I made a video on my other channel. I'll link in the description to it. I recommend checking out this model and studying it. It's called the Kelly and Connor's Emotional Cycle of Change. It was made in 1979. So one of the conditions, I call them, the mental conditions that the individual, or programming, that the individual could identify with is marketing might seem overwhelming to them. Marketing might seem confusing to them. Now, I recommend learning direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling. These are the areas that I have a certain degree of expertise in and have been very helpful for me. Although you could still learn branding, I recommend studying direct response marketing, consultative selling, and copywriting. That is what helped me build these 3 successful businesses. Now, one can say, oh, Joseph, you have a personal brand now. And that is part of branding. And we can get into these kinds of nuances if you would like. You could leave a question below and we can explore in upcoming videos. But let's say I say to an entrepreneur, learn some direct response marketing, some copywriting, and consultative selling. They may get excited about that, or they may think, oh, that's a lot of work. Now, I'll have a heart-to-heart conversation with them and I'll say, is it that you desire to learn direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling, or you don't genuinely desire to learn direct response marketing, copywriting, and consultative selling, but you do not want to neglect these areas, and you would rather bring on an agency or bring someone onto your team that could take care of these areas? So they'll fall in either one of these categories generally. They'll want to learn it, but they saw that it was hard and they resisted it. Or they might say, you know what, you're right. I don't actually want to learn these things. But although I do recommend having a good level of understanding up to a certain degree, a good level of understanding as to how these work, because if you do bring an agency on or you do bring a partner on, you can kind of see what's going on. Or you can bring a partner on that you trust fully and is competent at doing these things, then of course the business is going to thrive because they're going to take care of these areas for you while you focus on whatever areas in innovation, operations, finance, leadership, etc. that you focus in, without neglecting the sales and marketing. That's the key. So you can either fall in one of these categories, but that's fine. Whatever way, it does not get neglected. And if the individual starts to go in the valley of despair, they don't go looking for another shiny object. Now, let's say you fall in the category of learning direct response marketing, consultative selling, and copywriting, or one of the 3, or something like that. They're all 3 related. I relate them all together. Consultative selling is essentially your ability to have a conversation with someone and discover their pains, needs, desires, frustration, and either create a product and offer it to them so they become a client. You convert a lead or prospect into a client, or you discover what additional products or services that you can create, or you could partner with another business to offer, or you can become an affiliate or something like that and offer it to that prospect or lead, and they become a client and you get a percentage on that deal or an affiliate commission. Or if you partner with another business and create that, then you get to split it with the partner and you acquire the client. So that is consultative selling in a nutshell, conversational. And I do cover it in my book up to a certain degree. And all these areas, consultative selling, direct response marketing, and copywriting, there's no limit to how good you can be. I'm constantly getting better at it, constantly. And one doesn't need to be perfect at it and generate millions of dollars. I'm living proof of it. Now, number 2 is direct response marketing. So direct response marketing is essentially like this. We're going to run some tests and we're going to see what kind of results we get from these tests, and we're going to optimize accordingly. So an example will be, we're going to test a position in the marketplace, and we're going to test 5 angles for that position. I'm going to talk about in a moment what this means, angles and position. And let's see what kind of results we get. If we acquire clients with one of those angles, then we're going to scale it, or we're going to continue to run that particular ad or that particular kind of initiative, whatever it may be. It doesn't necessarily have to be an ad. It could be an angle in how you get referrals, which is what I did in my IT business. And I'm going to continue to do that and generate clients. And if I would like to get more clients, I'm going to run some more angles on that position. And let's see if I acquire clients in that way. Or I'm going to run some ads, and then I'm going to test different angles. And then let's see which angle gets me the clients, which ones convert. And there are all these different conversion points. So without getting too deep into it, in a nutshell, that's direct response marketing. It is based on optimization data. Then we have copywriting. So consultative selling is conversational selling, which is kind of like copywriting. Although typically when we think about copywriting, we're thinking about copy as in what you write, like a sales letter or your emails that are designed to build a relationship with them, to share what it is that you offer in a way that's compelling for the reader to take a step, whatever it may be, to opt into your email list, to buy your product or service. That is all within the scope of copywriting. And there are things like storytelling and a whole bunch of other things in relation to copywriting. So if you get good at these three areas, direct response marketing, consultative selling, and copywriting, and you have a viable offer, then what I have seen personally is the business grows. Happened in my own business. Now, person may think, I don't want to learn these things. That's okay. You can bring on an agency, you can bring on someone to help you, you can delegate it. But I personally recommend learning at least how it works, so that way you can choose to bring people onto your team that are going to be effective at what they do, and you can have a bird's eye view as to what's going on. I've seen this happen many times in consulting. The entrepreneur or those in charge, for whatever the reason may be, they bring on a firm and the firm doesn't produce the results. And so they'll bring me in and they'll say, why is it that we're not getting the results? And then I said, well, the firm that you brought on specializes in particular areas, like maybe they specialize in Instagram. But your business, unless you get the angle right or you get the positioning right, but the positioning and the angling that they're using is not effective. You're not aware of that. So if you can have a conversation, and if you would like, I'd have a conversation with them, we can adjust that positioning and we can adjust that angling. But ideally, that agency would be able to do that. See, they didn't know that. They didn't know about positioning. They didn't know about angling. And they brought on this firm and they're paying this firm, yet they're not getting the kind of results that they would like. Where they are getting the results is in YouTube. So I said, why not focus more on YouTube? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. I thought if I just go and advertise or do content on Instagram, I would grow my business. And then I would say, why do you say that? They'll say, that's what this agency said. And so again, no shame, no condemnation. It is helpful to have a bird's eye view, or someone on your team that has a bird's eye view, has their finger on the pulse, so that when decisions are made, they're educated decisions. Now, I want to talk about positioning and angles. This is one of the key areas that entrepreneurs, if I say something like, you already have the idea, now you just get some clients. They might say, I don't know how to get clients. I don't know how to market. I don't know how to sell. Typically, what I like to explore with them is if, again, they like to sell, or if they like to market, and if not, we'll come up with some kind of arrangement. But I like to always ensure that they have at least a good idea of what positioning and angles are. Because if they have this information, they'll have the finger on the pulse of their business in the not only the sales and marketing area, but also the innovation. By that is meant what to optimize in their product or service to create new products and services for their existing clients, or to get involved with different segments of the market. So what is positioning? Positioning, there's a wonderful book, by the way, it's called Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout, is how you want to be perceived in the mind of your audience or your ideal client, which if you're making social media content, then some percentage of your audience would be your ideal client. So for example, let's use my current position on this channel. It's flow-based entrepreneurship. So not entrepreneurship done in a stress, frustration, force-based, boredom-based way, but in a flow-based way. And I can speak from experience because I made flow a priority in 2017. Prior to that, I was kind of making it a priority. Sometimes I'd be in flow, sometimes I wouldn't be in flow. Essentially, by making flow a priority, I experience love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment on the entrepreneurial journey. It's a very distinct position. Some entrepreneurs might not care about that. Some entrepreneurs don't believe it's possible or are unaware. They are unaware that you can experience flow on the journey more often. So I can optimize a business. I can optimize what they're doing. I can facilitate perspective shift so that they experience more flow. It's a very distinct position. So that is my position in the marketplace from the vast array of consultants that are available. And they're all wonderful because they all serve distinct positions in the marketplace, and I have no interest in competing with them. I just attract the clients. Just like that. I attract the clients that are perfect match. You attract who you are. This is my style of life, and I attract the clients that are perfect match. So I know my position. So I make content from that position on this channel, my other channel, when I'm out and about, when I'm networking, when I'm connecting with people, when I'm relating with my clients, flow-based prosperity, the school community. Everything I do is from a state of flow, and that's the position that I occupy. So what happens is people see me as that. They relate to me that way. My prospects see me that way. My audience see me that way. And my clients see me that way. And if they have a desire to get involved with flow-based entrepreneurship and also bring a consultant into their business who has all this experience, yet can put all these systems, processes, help them with their mindset, etc., that is from the foundation of flow, then right away they bring me in. I've done work with organizations over Zoom, in person, to essentially bring flow into their organization, and their productivity went up, their numbers went up. So that's positioning. Positioning yourself in your prospect's mind or your ideal client's mind as an individual who could do X, Y, Z. Let's look at some examples here. But before we get into that, let's talk about angles. So angles is essentially the specific perspective or approach you use to communicate a message. So I can say, I am a flow-based entrepreneurial coach, although I don't say these kinds of things, but you could say it that way. I'm a flow-based entrepreneur and I teach flow-based entrepreneurship. I can communicate this particular flow-based entrepreneurial way to absolutely everyone just by using different angles, different kind of angles. That's part of the fun of getting really proficient at direct response marketing, consultative selling, and copywriting is no matter who is in front of your face, whatever entrepreneur, inevitably they put two and two together and say, hey, I would like to have more flow in my business because I will be able to communicate it from whatever kind of angles. So let's discuss angles and positioning. And why I'm bringing this up is because you already have that money-making idea. Just know your position and test different angles through paid advertising, through social media content, through networking events. This can be done online and offline. And what will happen is you'll start getting clients. And this right here, stage 2, uninformed pessimism of I don't know how to market. Now we're clearing it up. Here's how you market. Positioning and angling is one of the key points from the key of marketing. You look at it that way if you'd like. One of the key points, 2 key points, positioning and angling that facilitate results, money results. And by the way, I didn't make this stuff up. There's, again, a great book, Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout. And if you study any business that succeeds online and offline, you'll see they have marketing angles. So 3 big niches online, and it doesn't mean you have to be in these niches, are health, wealth, and relationships. Let's look at some examples. Specifically, let's get niche down in the health space, weight loss. And then let's niche down further into a position, 3 positions. One position is I help busy professionals lose weight, sustainably without adding more time or stress to their schedule. That's a very distinct position. You see, that's a slice in the marketplace that you can target through that position. Here's another one. I help people transform their relationships with food and lose weight naturally through mindset and identity shifts without restrictive diets. Now, these are just some general ones. If you would like to have a conversation with me, bring me on to carve out your position. You can go to the contact form, I'll link in the description to it, and fill out your details and we can be in touch. The next one is, I help men over 40 burn fat, optimize hormones, and rebuild their prime physique with joint-friendly, age-smart methods. Very, very specific. I know, it's a distinct position. Now, you don't have to get this granular. You could just say something like, I help men over 40 burn fat. What about wealth? Let's use entrepreneurship. Niche down into entrepreneurship. There are many categories of wealth. There is investing, for example. I help solo entrepreneurs build a $10,000 to $30,000 a month one-person business through simplified systems and high leverage focus. I help creators turn their content into consistent income by building audiences that buy without burnout or complex funnels. I help experts turn their skills into high-ticket consulting, coaching, or done-for-you services with predictable client acquisition. What about relationships? Let's go into dating. I help men over 40 attract high-quality partners through confidence, presence, and authentic communication, not games. I help women attract emotionally mature, high-value men by embodying confidence, clarity, and feminine magnetism. I help individuals and couples create harmonious, magnetizing relationships by mastering masculine-feminine dynamics and emotional awareness. You see, I have spoken to many entrepreneurs, and they have had ideas that are in these particular highly viable niches online, generally health, wealth, and relationships. And they don't necessarily have to be in these areas. But then when we carve out what their positioning can be, and we choose the positioning that they resonate with, these are just some examples. You may or may not resonate with them. What happens is now they can start to see that, you know what? I know people that will buy. I know people that will buy. I already have some ideas now of content that I could create. I already have some ideas of some ads that can be run. And because this positioning is close to their heart, this is genuinely, I don't force position on anyone. That's a funny way of saying it. I genuinely desire for people to discover their unique position that they genuinely love, and they take that position naturally, effortlessly. So now that we talked about positioning, let's talk about angles and how they relate together. Now, let's say through a bit of research, and the research can be done through forums like Reddit, different kinds of meetup groups, online, offline, reading comments on YouTube, reading Amazon reviews. There's a number, having conversations with people. There's a number of ways that you can get this information. You'll start to see what these people have a problem with, or what is their problem, which is an opportunity. So our goal is to tie our idea into a problem that they have, which then we create content or ads. And what that does is it educates people and it inspires them to reach out to you because their problem can be solved with your solution, whatever the idea may be. So let's look at some angles here. Angle A. This is in relation to weight loss. I help busy professionals lose weight sustainably without adding more time or stress to their schedule. So the prospect may think, I don't have time. My job is draining my energy. Or I can stay disciplined for 3 days and then fall off, or something like that. So you may then create content Or you can create some ad copy that discusses the following, that shares information, whether it's a video or piece of content or an ebook or something like that. And here are some examples in relation to angle A. I don't have the time. The angle can be how to lose weight without adding exercise hours or meal prep complexity. Angle B, my job is draining my energy. Fat loss strategies that increase productivity, focus, and daily energy. Angle 3, I can stay disciplined for 3 days and then I fall off. Simple systems that automate weight loss, even during stressful weeks. Now, this is me being general here. These are just general to articulate the point. We can come up with better angles, definitely. If I really sat down and looked at a specific business, we can come up with better positioning and better angles. The purpose of this video is to give you an overview and a particular degree of granular understanding of positioning and angles. So essentially, all you're doing is you're taking your idea and you're imagining fulfilling a position in your prospect's mind and heart, and you're having a conversation with them, researching where they are, building a relationship with them, getting to know them, to discover their pain points like this. Each one of these angles are pain points. And then you're coming up with content or ads or ways of communicating to them in a way that they get interested. So if they say, okay, I would love to lose weight, they don't want to spend too much time in the gym, let's say it that way. And they say things like, my job is draining my energy. Well, now you have key insight as to what to address. What is a problem that they have, which is a solution that you can create. So the problem is an opportunity then. Let's go to dating. Let's use this one. I help men over 40 attract high-quality partners through confidence, presence, and authentic communication, not games. Angles. So they may say things like, modern dating feels confusing. B, I feel out of practice. C, I keep attracting the wrong women. So angle number 1, simplifying dating by focusing on presence, confidence, and clear standards. So if they say modern dating feels confusing, I can relate to this, as we always discuss in my other channel. Real self-confidence, real self-charisma, real self-magnetism actually does most of the work, and if not all of the work. And what you say, how you don't say it, what you do, what you don't do, your style naturally emerges. So now that might sound quite esoteric. What does that mean? But hey, that could be an area that if someone was targeting this particular niche, that can be an angle where content can clarify, or whatever kind of mastermind group or school community. And they're willing to pay for these kinds of results. A person may think, why would a person pay for this? Well, consider for a moment, how much frustration would a person have in their life if they don't learn these things? Are they willing to trade their time and their energy to learn these things on their own? Or are they willing to just pay you whatever, a couple $1,000 or whatever it may be, $500 for your program, to learn how to do these things? And that's just a modest investment, $500, $2,000, to literally save years of time and energy, which they could be allocating towards their business, which if they allocate that time towards their business, it would return multiples of $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, and all they did was give you $2,000 to learn these things to fast track the results. Angle C, I keep attracting the wrong women. By that is meant very specifically, they're not matching with someone that is based on who they truly are. They're attracting people based on conditioning in mind. We talk about this on my other channel. So let's go into this one here. I help individuals and couples create harmonious, magnetizing relationships by mastering masculine, feminine dynamics and emotional awareness. The angle could be, we keep having the same arguments over and over. Angle B, the attraction is fading. Angle C, We don't understand each other's needs. Okay, well, we can create some content to build a relationship with them. We can run some ads. And then what happens is they build like and trust with you, and they are more likely to consider your coaching program or your training program or your seminar, etc. So angle A, we keep having the same argument over and over. Here's a piece of content that can be created, which you don't have to title it like this, but this can be what it's about. Understanding polarity and emotional patterns to stop repetitive conflict. Angle B, attraction is fading. The topic of discussion, or what to explore, is restoring natural polarity and rekindling desire. And you don't have to use this kind of verbiage. This is just the verbiage that I put together to articulate. Consider you use verbiage that is the kind of verbiage that the prospects use. So what I'm getting at is there are all kinds of ways to see your idea into fruition. And what can happen at times is if a person goes from stage 1, uninformed optimism, into stage 2, informed pessimism, that is not a problem, that is an opportunity. They can then in the moment realize that either they can do the sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership themselves, they can do it up to a particular degree, and the rest is not neglected, but they can bring on a person, or they can bring on a firm, or they can bring on a business partner or a contractor or something like that to take care of those areas. And if it's related to marketing, then they could learn a few things like positioning and angles. They can learn a few things like high level, what is copywriting? How does it work? High level, direct response marketing. High level marketing. And although they don't need to know the granulars of it, they'll have their finger on the pulse and a great degree of discernment, enough discernment to be able to acquire a great team member that can take care of those things, or to bring on a consultant, or bring on a firm, or bring on a marketing agency to take care of those things. So essentially in consulting, I work with individuals that they wouldn't even bring me on as a coach or consultant if they didn't drop into informed pessimism or valley of despair. That's why I don't shame and condemn. I provide the solutions. So this is one example of the many possible ways that we could work together in relation to innovation, sales, marketing, operations, finance, leadership, and have a conversation of what comes up. So we discussed today what can come up if the individual moves forward with their initiative, and they'll actually produce results. And rather than thinking they need a new money-making initiative or get involved with shiny object syndrome, fear of missing out, all these kinds of things, they'll just move forward with their initiative and they'll produce results. And again, I speak from personal experience because in the earlier stages, I would get caught up in the cycle. Uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair, then get involved with shiny object syndrome, or think that I need a new money-making opportunity, which is not true. And how do I know? Because at a particular point, I stopped looking for those money-making opportunities, and I realized I had my money-making opportunity. And that's how I built my IT business to success. I realized that I already have the knowledge, wisdom, expertise in IT, and I love to do it. And I did it in corporate for 10 years. Of course, that's going to turn into a successful IT business. Of course, I'm going to learn along the way, and I'm going to work with people along the way, and I'm going to automate along the way. I'm going to delegate. I'm going to optimize. I'm going to eliminate what is not necessary to inevitably build the business to success. And the business was built to success from 2009 to 13, which then I took that knowledge and my wisdom, reference experience, and started my YouTube channel and discussed the various books and information that has been helpful as I continue to grow. This never ends. I constantly learn more. Right now, I happen to be in the coaching and consulting space, and my coaching and consulting skills have gotten better and better over the years. That's why I'm able to get into such nuances like I'm able to get into now, because I've had these conversations over the years with thousands of entrepreneurs, and I've been able to communicate in a way that articulates the solution for the various problems or the angles in a video or in conversation. And of course, that results in coaching and consulting clients. Of course, because they feel, and it is true, that I am the one that is a perfect match for them. And I'm only interested in the ones that are aligned with my positioning, and also the ones that I can help with the particular angles. So I don't get involved with angles and promise something and not deliver on it. I get involved with angles, and there's tons of angles, tons of positions that I genuinely love, and angles that I genuinely love, and that I can genuinely deliver upon. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.